The lecture that I'm going to discuss today is going to be related to technology. Now, this is where I go ahead and I begin with something which is known as production theory. Till now, I have been fully concentrated on the consumer theory. This is the first time that I'm actually going ahead and introducing production theory. Now, there are going to be various parts to production theory. The first being technology. Then we are going to talk about cost. Then we are going to go ahead and talk about the profits. These are ideally the three main things that we are going to do. This would be purely for now related to only perfect competition. But then after we have understood perfect competition well, we'll go ahead to monopoly. We'll further go to oligopoly. And while introducing oligopoly, I would be also talking about game theory. So you can consider this as microeconomics level 2, where we have understood what consumers are all about. We have done utility functions in detail, but we want to kind of mimic the kind of functions that we have done for consumers, even for producers. Let us try and understand, first of all, what is a technology. Now, to begin with, a technology is a process by which we convert inputs into outputs. For example, when I am teaching you via my system, via this computer, via my camera, via my recorder, that is a part of technology. When I go ahead and I teach you the same thing on blackboard, even that is a part of technology, using chalk, using duster, using blackboard. I am trying to convert my inputs. What are my inputs? My knowledge, whatever I have learned, into outputs. And how am I doing that? Using certain better inputs, like writing with the help of a pen, right? Like using this tab, like using my camera. So these are all inputs using which I'm able to get an output out of it. I'm able to create this video. I'm able to create my learning, my teaching. Now, just consider any other example, the way that agriculture works, the way that, this table is being constructed, the way how labor and how wood and how different things are used to produce different things. So technology is ideally, to begin with, it's just a process. What process? While this is the process that is actually used to convert inputs into outputs. Now, and I would be talking about this thing in a little detail, but I want to kind of focus here, and I will be taking this in maybe the upcoming slides, but I want to focus on production function. What is a production function? The functional relationship between inputs and outputs is called production function. So I understand I'm going to use labor, I'm going to use capital, but how am I going to use this labor and capital? That function that assigns that output is a function of labor and capital, that becomes my production function. So technology is a process. But if I have to give some mathematical version to that process, then that is given by production function, right? So production function is a process, is a function, is a mathematical denomination that is used to, you can in simple words say, depict technology. Now, there can be various ways in which I can write my production function, and I will take this through, as I go along with the chapter. But my production function can be L to the power alpha, K to the power beta. My production function can be L plus K. My production function can be alpha L plus beta K. My production function can be min LK. All of these are mathematical formats using which I am able to depict my inputs, labor and capital, that are converting into output, which is this Y. That is what my production function is doing. Okay, so now, it is also possible that various technologies can be used to produce the same output. For example, if I have to produce, let's say, a cloth, maybe if I have to produce a dress, let's say, supposedly I want to produce a dress. One way can be that I employ just 2 laborers and I combine these 2 laborers with a machine. What do the laborers have to do? There is this machine. They have to put this cloth into the machine. The machine will give shape to the cloth. So it will create a frock out of this cloth, right? Machine will give this shape. Then it has to be pushed through the next machine, in which those 2 pieces will be stitched together. And then it has to be pushed to the next machine, which will place buttons on it. And then finally, the final labor here, sitting here, will just package it out. And the process is completed. So I am using machine more and labor less. So I can say that this becomes my capital intensive process. I can also go ahead and have a labor intensive process. So for example, instead of machines being at each level, I have labor at each level. The laborer is going to cut the pieces out. That is nothing but our tailor. He is going to stitch those pieces. He is going to put buttons around it. And he is going to go ahead and give you the final product. In that case, I am saying that that becomes a labor intensive process. So, I can have different technologies, but the process that I'm really following is to just create one frock, right? So, usually you can have several technologies. Those technologies will produce the same product. A blackboard or a chalk can be used for the purpose of teaching. My tab and this pen can also be used for the purpose of teaching. I can use a projector very well for the purpose of teaching. I am generating the same output. My output is just teaching, but I'm using different technologies to do that. Now, the question that then arises is which technology is the best? And that is something that I intend to answer as part of the consecutive chapters. So I understand it can be a labor intensive process. It can be a capital intensive process. I understand that I can teach with blackboard. I can teach with the system also. But given those things, which technology is the one that I should follow? Which of those is the best technology to work with? So that is really the question at hand. This is what I want to answer. And to answer this question, to understand whether labor intensive is better or capital intensive is better, I need a method. To do what? To compare these technologies. How will I compare them? How do I know which technology is better? I need a method for that. So that is one thing that you have to keep in mind. I will take this question again as I go ahead. But this is one thing that you have to think about as to how do I think which technology is the optimal technology for my case. Now, just like, and I'm going to, this is going to be lectures where I'm going to now compare things with consumer so that, that will enable you to understand things well because you have done consumer now. So, for consumers, whenever we talk about consumers, just take a second here. But whenever we used to talk about consumers used to have something which is known as the consumption bundle. What is a consumption bundle really? A consumption bundle is two goods, good 1 and good 2. And a consumption bundle tells us how much am I consuming of good 1 and how much am I consuming of good 2. So, you know, I am consuming X1 units of good 1 and I am consuming X2 units of good 2. This is my consumption bundle. I can very well extend this to N goods also. So I can say X1 units of good 1, X2 units of good 2, X3 units of good 3, and so on and so forth till Xn units of good N. This is also my consumption bundle to work with. Now, on a very similar ground, I can talk about my input bundles also. What is an input bundle? An input bundle actually tells us how many units of each input am I using. So I can use X1 units of input 1. I can use X2 units of input 2. I can use X3 units of input 3 till Xn. So this becomes my input bundle. It is a vector. Ideally, vector means I'm just in very simple terms, I'm just representing how much units of which input. So for example, let's say if I talk about teaching, then I need 10 units of chalk. I need 1 unit of blackboard. I need 50 units of chair because that's the classroom size that I have. I need 1 unit of projector because sometimes I have to use projector in between. I need 1 podium to keep my lectures on it. I need 1 laptop so that I can connect it with the projector. I need 1 remote for the projector and so on. So ideally, this entire thing that I'm writing is my input bundle that I would need to produce teaching. I need 1 teacher, most important, you need a person to teach. So you need 1 teacher, etc. This becomes your input bundle. So it is a vector that tells us how many units of which input do you require.